What is going on, everyone? Do you have stress? You probably do. 90% of us have stress, and about 60% of us have unhealthy levels of stress. The good news is, these days, they have therapy, pills, weed, yoga, massage, exercise, and meditation to help us deal with stress. In my grandfather's day, you had to suck it up and have a drink. That was your therapy. A little stress is good, and a lot of stress is bad. Some people actually believe that zero stress is the worst. It makes you lazy, makes you accomplish nothing, and then later on you have even more stress because you're 40 and you're living in your parents' basement. Kind of like Winnie the Pooh. That honey-eating weirdo had zero stress and hung around with a little ball of stress called Piglet. Never understood that. Anyway, I guess opposites attract. There has been study after study on stress, what causes it, how to deal with it, and even what locations have the most stressed out people. And that's what today's list is all about, states with the most stressed out residents. So if you're looking for a new state to live in and stress is a major factor in your life, you should watch my top 10 most stressed out states. Number 10, Arizona. Among Arizona residents, the major stress they seem to have is family-related stress, but they stress the least about their work. It seems that Arizona does have some major issues with families since the position for family and marriage therapists is supposed to grow by 23% over the next several years. They also have seen an increase in divorce lawyers moving into the area. You know, I'd be stressed too if I lived in the Grand Canyon state. Extreme heat makes me stressed. I'm sure somewhere in stress research, they've looked at heat factors. Heat makes people angry, which leads to more stress. Fact. Number 9, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is among the top states with the most uninsured residents. About 14% of adults and 8% of children have no health coverage. They are also one of the top states for work-related injuries, per capita, obviously. This may be why their top stressor is about health and safety. When you have health concerns, it's bad. Then you add not being able to pay for the treatment on top of that, and it's just getting really bad. You'll probably be adding sleep issues to your laundry list of how the universe screwed you real soon. Next thing you know, you're standing in an open prairie with a quart of Jack Daniels clutched in your white-knuckled fist, screaming at the rain because now you have hemorrhoids to go along with your kidney stones and you have no way of paying for it. Number 8, Alaska. Alaska has the worst unemployment rate in the country at 6.2%. The national average currently is 3.7, and that's the current rate. Please look at the upload date before you comment 2 years after the fact and tell me that the numbers are wrong. No, the numbers have changed since the upload. That's how it works. Being unemployed is very stressful, and I tell you that in case you're 15 or 16 and you don't really know how all that stuff works. It is, because if you don't have a job, you could lose your car, your house, not eat, things like that. Not all of us have a parent's home to go back to. Alaska is also the worst state when it comes to work-related stress. They have some extremely dangerous jobs in Alaska, so it's no wonder they have work-related stress. Then there's also the stress of worrying about being trampled by a moose while you're working, or falling overboard and freezing to death before anyone can pull you out of the water. Yeah, that moose stuff is real. People worry about getting attacked by a bear in Alaska, and that's stressful enough. But if you talk to the locals, they'll tell you it's the frickin' moose you gotta worry about. They outnumber bear 3-1. The number of moose attacks spike in September and October during the mating season, and in their early spring when the mothers are protecting their young calves. However, moose often don't confront people unless they're provoked. For that reason, it's really important not to throw things at them, or make bad bullwinkle jokes, things like that. Don't provoke the moose, and keep your dogs away from them. They hate dogs. Dogs run up and bark at them. I hate dogs when they run up and bark at me. Then you have to worry about hitting one. Those things run onto the road every single day and get hit. And I promise you, that airbag, it hurts when it smacks you in the face. You got moose all over the front of your car. Number 7, Nevada. Nevada is the state with the most divorces. Nearly 14% of all marriages in Nevada end in divorce. This is higher than the US average of 9%. Oddly enough, Nevada is the number 1 state to stress the most about family-related issues. Theoretically, the stress should be over once you get a divorce. Nah, that's when the real stress starts for a lot of people. You gotta pay the lawyer, child support, alimony, bail money, because one of you is guaranteed to call the cops on the other at least once during the whole procedure. And then on top of it, you gotta pay for your trip to go to the casinos, and she thinks she's in a romance novel and decides to take off to the Greek Isles to find herself. And that never works out. Then she comes back home to Orange County and starts throwing in a little accent whenever she talks about her week in Greece. She tells her friends things like, I discovered who I was in that Greek island. Her friends want to grab her and scream, I discovered who you were in high school. You're Karen, a BC student in high school who rarely came home from high school parties with her undergarments. You spent 6 years at a community college and you claim to have a gluten allergy, but you eat gluten all the time. And you drink far too much wine by noon every single day. Number 6, Alabama. Alabama has been known for its restrictions on women's healthcare since before we were a country. Just this year, they passed a bunch of new restrictions. Way to go, Alabama. This is a very likely reason the women of the state are stressed about health and safety. Alabama comes in first place for residents having stroke. Stress is one of the leading causes of stroke. When you're under constant stress, you have high levels of cortisol and other stress hormones. This causes a retention of salt, which leads to high blood pressure, all the things you need for a good old-fashioned stroke. Basically, people in Alabama are stressed and they don't need to be. Number 5, West Virginia. This is a state that's been through hell over the last decade or so. It's been reported that typically West Virginians tend to stress about money, health, and safety issues the most. This isn't too much of a surprise if you know what's been going on in the state. The coal mining industry has been dying for years, which was a major employer throughout West Virginia. This has led to a lot of unemployed people in the mountain state. As we discussed before, unemployment is stressful, and if that wasn't already stressful enough, West Virginia became ground zero for the opioid crisis. It was bad and led to even more stress on this state. Then you have the Charleston, West Virginia airport. Yeager Airport is one of the scariest landings you can make in the US. I landed there and felt like I needed to do some heavy drinking just to calm down so I can get my rent-a-car. It was that bad. One shining light in the darkness that has been West Virginia in the last decade or so is WTSQ, the greatest radio station on planet Earth, and home to my friend Josh Gaffin and my future ex-girlfriend Maya Ross. I'll leave a link for the radio station below. Number 4, Kentucky. Kentucky is the 4th most stressed out state in the country. They rank 13th for work-related stress, and that's the good news. Kentucky is another state that has a lot of workplace injuries, and it's still only 13th. Kentucky residents stress out more about their families, their health, and their safety, and I can tell they're stressed by the comments I got in the last Kentucky video I did. These people have a problem with numbers. They don't like them because they normally are associated with stats, and the stats for this state suck. I'm sure another stress they have is how far away they are from the nearest payday loan place. Number 3, Arkansas. Arkansas is another stressed out state. There's about 3 million residents who fear for their health and safety every day. Between money, family, safety, and work-related stress, safety is what stressed these residents out the most. Some of the cities in this state are horrible. I did a whole video on Pine Bluff, Arkansas. This is a small city of 50,000 residents that's considered to be one of the most dangerous places to visit or live in the country. The place gotta be swimming in stress. The good news is, at least up in the northwest section of the state, they've got some jobs and people are living a little bit better, but the majority of this state is just stressed to the gills because of poverty, crime, and everything else. Number 2, Mississippi. Mississippi is the second most stressed out state in the country. However, if mosquitoes had a category as a valid stressor, then it would probably be bumped up to the most stressed state. Mississippi is the poorest state in the US, which is why the biggest stressor is money related. Money always seems to be a big stress factor in anyone's life. Magnolia State has had a serious poverty issue since the Great Depression. In a lot of ways, they're still living like they're in the Great Depression. About 21% of the state lives in poverty, and about 75% of those residents, they live in what is considered extreme poverty. If you watch this channel or Nick Johnson's channel on the regular, you already know that Mississippi is thick with poverty. We've done at least a couple videos each on the Magnolia State's money problems. They have crime, which is always another big stressor, but other than in Jackson, the state capital, it's not terrible in the rest of the state. If it was, I'm sure they'd be number 1. And number 1, Louisiana. Louisiana has about 4.7 million residents who are incredibly stressed out. The leading stressors are work-related stress and safety-related stress. And it's pretty clear why when you look at the unemployment rate and the crime rate. Some of the cities like Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and parts of New Orleans need to be torn down and started over or something. I don't know. About 4.3% of the population is unemployed, making Louisiana the 9th most unemployed state. There is no yoga pose that will fix this kind of stress. Not even a double downward dog with a Zoloft chaser. It's not gonna happen. People need employment and people need to feel safe, or they're always going to be stressed, and that leads to bigger problems. Then you have things like the weather. The weather in New Orleans and the rest of Louisiana is horrible, and there's always the fear of hurricane. They've had some pretty serious hurricanes in the past, actually one of the most devastating we've ever seen, and they have to worry about that type of stuff all the time. And that's why Louisiana is the most stressed out state in the Union, but it is the best state for gumbo, so they got that going for them. Alright, so that is my top 10 most stressed states. I hope you guys got some information out of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget all the links below. Give this video a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.